Air Staff, one of Britain's most senior Air Force officers, and he finished this document by saying, in summary, there is evidence to suggest that an unidentified object or objects was flying over the UK on the night in question. Now that is about as close as the Ministry of Defence will ever get to saying in a document that there is more to UFOs than just aircraft, lights, or weather balloons. But still, the fact remained, we didn't know what it was. And this is a difficult situation for the government and the military. It is somewhat embarrassing to have to face the fact that there may be things in our airspace that can fly over military bases and yet sometimes not show up on our radar, but yet be seen by police officers and pilots. This is difficult for us because on the one hand we like to not cover up the subject but play it down to say the UFO phenomenon is of no defense significance. But on the other hand, if you have UFOs flying over military bases and coming close to aircraft, then it must be of defense interest at least. So our position was very difficult. Some other cases, I mentioned these near misses with aircraft. We had a case from April 1991 where an Alitalia aircraft coming into London at a height of about 22,000 feet. Suddenly the pilot saw a cylindrical or missile-shaped UFO coming very rapidly towards the aircraft. And he believed that there was imminent danger of collision. And his official report, which went not just to the Ministry of Defence, but to our Civil Aviation Authority, his statement recalled that he had only time to shout the words, "Look out, look out," before this UFO went very rapidly just in front of the aircraft. Again, whatever you believe about UFOs, this shows that this is a serious subject. An almost identical case, again, recently released in the files, January 1995, a Boeing 737 at a height of about 9,000 feet this time, on its approach to Manchester Airport. Both the pilot and the first officer see a delta-shaped craft pass rapidly in front of their aircraft. They submitted a report. The Civil Aviation Authority launched a detailed investigation, which of course included the Ministry of Defence. At the end of the investigation, the risk to the aircraft, they used to use a category where they said that there had been either a... now, most times, of course, this risk system is designed to describe what happens when an aircraft passes too close to another aircraft, or to a glider, or to a microlight, something that is identified. Then they will interview both pilots, the radar experts, the air traffic controllers, and they will decide whether there was a serious danger of a collision, possible danger of a collision or no danger of a collision. Now, in this case, of course, it was unusual because they were not able to identify the other object, let alone interview the pilot, if there was a pilot. So the official report simply concluded that the degree of risk to the Boeing 737 had been, quote, unassessable. To me, this is an unsatisfactory situation. I was not comfortable with a position where these near misses were occurring, but yet consistently all we could say was, we can't assess the danger, or we don't know what this is. It's a difficult problem. Pilots use, particularly I think British pilots, very restrained language when making these UFO reports. It is mandatory, certainly in Britain, for any pilot who believes that their aircraft has been endangered by anything, it is mandatory to make a report. Pilots do not generally like to make UFO reports, and I have heard cases of pilots who have just said nothing because they didn't really know what to say, or because they were worried that this would affect their career. And this includes both civilian pilots, commercial airline pilots, and Air Force pilots. But pilots, when they do talk about UFOs, they use some very restrained language. Maybe it's the pilot's way, maybe in some cases it's the British way. One of the reports recently released again had a near miss between an aircraft and a UFO. And at the end of the report, the pilot had decided to speculate on what this object might be. And he said there are three possibilities. Firstly, maybe this was a meteorite or fireball. Secondly, maybe it was space debris from a rocket or satellite burning up in the Earth's atmosphere. Thirdly, he said, maybe the Air Force has accidentally fired off a missile in my flight path. And then he went on to say, if this third option is the answer, my crew and I are not impressed. Pardon me. The incident was never resolved. It is still a mystery. This is the difficulty with these UFO cases. In many cases, maybe as high as 80%, we can determine with a reasonable degree of certainty the most likely cause of a UFO sighting. Misidentifications of aircraft lights, satellites, meteors, weather balloons, etc. In maybe another 15% of cases, there's insufficient information to really come to any meaningful assessment. The details are just too vague. In 5% of cases, we have good information.